What's going on, everybody? I want to welcome you back to Knicks Deli, baby. Yes. I am your host. My name is Shia. I'm the host, I'm the owner, I'm the proprietor of Knicks Deli. So if you're here for the first time, I want to thank you. I want to ask you really quickly, subscribe to the channel. Trust me, you're going to enjoy this video. Subscribe, hit the like button, share with anybody that you know. Everybody know here in New York, the Knicks Deli is a staple of the culture of New York. So you're in the right place at the right time. So I want to thank you for joining me. Now you can have those people who support you if you don't have those people who don't. And we call them the ops.
We circling the block, we spinning the block.
We see you and we circling the block and we spinning the block, but it's all right because we serve everybody. Friend or foe, we want the smoke. All right, so you're welcome here too. Hit that like button. Do some little bit of hating. Send some hate in the comment section. It all goes towards the algorithm. So welcome here to Knicks Deli. We got a lot to get into. But before I start, let me talk about what's on the menu here at Knicks Deli. If you're new to the channel, let me tell you there's 4 items that are on the menu. 4. First item that's on the menu is the bacon, egg, and cheese. Now, you can't say, let me get a bacon, let me get an egg, and let me get a cheese. You got to say it's a bacon, egg, and cheese. And it's the turkey, bacon, egg, and cheese for those of you who don't eat pork. Okay? Bacon, egg, and cheese are who are the 3 components of the game who put together made that thing just outstanding and help us get this win. So we're going to look at who were the 3 players that combined really meshed well together and help us get this win. Next, we're going to look at who was the dollar slice of the game. Now, the dollar slice, you know, pizza is the best pizza in the world in New York. So we're going to talk about the dollar slice. The pizza is a staple of New York. So who was that stabilizing factor that helped us get this win? Next on the menu is the chopped cheese. Now, the chopped cheese is relatively new to the New York deli scene, but that thing be buzzing. So we're going to talk about what is the player who's relatively new in essence, whether it's to the team or just their contribution to the game. But that thing was buzzing. And lastly, we're going to talk about you can't have the chopped cheese. You can't have the dollar slice. You can't have the bacon, egg, and cheese if you ain't got nothing to wash that thing down with. And we call that the quarter water. So we're going to talk about who is the quarter water of the game. Who, with their presence or their contribution, helped us either in a singular quarter or in spurts throughout the game, help us secure this victory. All right? So that's what's on the menu. We've recently added, by necessity, an additional item to the menu. And we call that the glizzy of the game.
Hey, yo!
Hey, yo is right. So the glizzy of the game goes to whether it's a certain person or people or something that you just want that you got to be quiet. You need to be shut up. And what better way to shut up somebody than to give them a dirty dog? Give them the glizzy of the game.
Hey, yo!
So then we're going to, after the glizzy of the game is given and awarded, then we're going to have my parting thoughts. And we're just going to talk a little bit about, just how we feeling going into the season. It's a new year and we got a new team. So we're going to talk about that as well. All of that and more coming right up right now. So let's start off with who is the bacon, egg, and cheese of the game. We're going to start off with awarding who is the bacon. And my bacon of the game is actually our workhorse, Julius Randle. Round of applause for Julius Randle. Yeah. Listen, Julius has been doing it all season. What we're looking at is Julius had 39 points, 9 rebounds. And he took this matchup personally, as he's always seemed to do when he's facing players that he has either connection with or some type of friendship with or collegiality, something. There has to be some type of linkage. And the thing about Julius, and you know that his mentors are old school. It is somewhat buddy-buddy, but him with more time being in New York, forged by the New York fire, takes these matchups personally. It's not buddy-buddy or, oh, I'm just joking. It's buddy-buddy, it's this matchup. I'm gonna remind you, I'm gonna bust your behind. That's the type of attitude Julius and the type of energy he's been bringing since he's been in New York. All right, and that was no different last night. One thing that was a little bit different with him going up against Karl Anthony Towns, his fellow Kentuckian, going up against Rudy Gobert, another all-star big man, on the floor. He was the best player on the floor last night. You hear that? Do you hear that, ESPN? Julius Randle. Do you hear that, TNT? Julius Randle was the best player on the floor last night in a game where he dropped 39 against all-stars, the most dominant defense in the league right now. But there was something that stood out about Julius Randle to me last night. There was much more joy as he was busting everybody's behind in Madison Square Garden. There was a noticeable sense of joy that he was playing with, a certain sense of freedom, almost like a weight was lifted off of his shoulders. I'm just going to go out here and just dominate, and that's what he did last night. Julius Randle dominated the basketball last night. He dominated the basketball game. Once again, star matchup, Anthony Edwards on the other side, Karl Anthony Towns on the other side, Rudy Gobert on the other side. A big three that was formed for championship contention. And no one was doubting that they were positioned to be contenders this year. Okay, with their level of play and their production. They've had the most wins this season than they've had in Minnesota Timberwolves history. They're on track for that. So they are super impressive. They are the real deal. And the New York Knicks, contrary to the final score of that game, showed them that they have flaws and weaknesses and that matchups make the matchup. Matchups make a difference. But Julius Randle showed out last night. But, of course, I got to be a typical Knicks fan. Knicks fans, we know our team. We've been with these players and with this team for forever, all right? And to me, it just seemed that on a day in which we finally had the new players who were traded to our team get an opportunity to play, the old players are at another location. They're getting an opportunity to play later in the day. Julius played last night as if he was overly excited about the amount of space and opportunity that he had on the floor that he was seeing. The game flowed so much better. When he would pop the ball out, the person who was on the receiving end of receiving the pass, they knocked down the shot. And that makes a difference as the game goes along, because more and more times they have to honor that shooter that's outside of the three-point line. It's not part of the game plan that you could sag off or play off of that player. If it was RJ Barrett, you could sag off because there's a 50-50 chance that he makes it, or maybe even a 40-60 chance that he makes it for the negative in terms of missing. You don't have that anymore. Once OG Anunoby knocked down the first few shots, then the defense knew they had to go out, had to pull out and guard him, which left that whole lane open for Julius. Julius seemed uncharacteristically joyous last night while he was playing. Just something that I saw. Once again, I think, it was close to the end of the game, and it was just another opportunity. Obviously, everybody's going to point out playoff performance. We ain't there just yet. And I said the same thing about RJ in the summertime. No matter what type of season RJ has, when he was on that tear at the very beginning of the season, I said, we appreciate that, but RJ is yet to put together a solid regular season and a playoff. Last year, he had a very solid playoff, but he struggled with inconsistency in the regular season. That was RJ's MO in year 5. And the same thing applies to Julius. Julius has had outstanding regular season performances, but he seemed to be just not ready for the moment in the playoffs. But once again, as a veteran who now has a consistent record of showing up in the playoffs, the postseason, but now also has players alongside him that he can trust to kind of do their job, to at least do their job. There are going to be days where he's not exceptional, but you need to have players who can lift you through those moments so that you can have an opportunity to show up and show out in the moments that you can. You can't always be perfect, but I think he believes that this year surrounding him are pieces that can help him overcome that hump. And he knows it. For him to have mentors like Kobe, and still have kind of that old school type of feeling approach, and he's starting to be forged in the fire by New York and the expectations that come along with that. He knows what he needs to do. He knows when the playoffs come around this time, later on this year, that's going to be something that's looked at. And he seems like he's just continuing to prove and solidify the fact that he is all NBA, that he is an all-star, and that he will have an opportunity when the time presents itself to show what he could do in the playoffs. And you get that from him last night when he closed the game out for us. Came in clutch, 8 points in the fourth quarter against a team that's the number one defensive team in the league. Oh yeah, Julius showed up, and he came to send a message, and that he did. For the game, I will give Julius a grade of, I'll give him an A-. I'll give him an A-. He's continuing to prove that he's forcing them to say his name. He's forcing them to have to talk about us. Okay? This is what Julius Randle is doing, and no matter how we feel about him, I say we. I'm not saying we no more. I already said it at the beginning of the summertime. He is on our team. He is my star. He is my all-star. He is my all-NBA player. He's mine. I'm defending him now. He's beyond those points of frustration. He's shown us that he can grow. He's absolutely shown us that. He's shown us incrementally not only the flaws in his game, but the league awards. He's accruing awards. He's bypassing people on the all-time Knicks scoring list. He will be an all-time Knick, and not just one of the once a Knick, always a Knick type of players. Unless there is a superstar that becomes available and he is part of that package, and I don't think that's going to happen because there's so much blood, sweat, tears, and growth that he's poured out onto the garden floor. I think legacy is important, and I think the way we treat Julius will send a message to every future free agent, every one of them. So it's more than likely key that we do not get rid of him, that we show him that New York is a place where you can go and you can be developed and you can find success and you can find sustainable winning. So shout out to Julius Randle. I think with the increase in the role players that we received, it really is another step towards increasing his confidence that this is a team that he shares with Jalen Brunson. When we had RJ there, RJ was a Knick that we drafted. IQ was a Knick that we drafted. IQ and RJ at some point in time during their time butt heads with Julius Randle. It was a point of frustration. I think he felt as if he had to share the stage, share the points, share the accolades from the fans, share the adulation from the fans with those two. In many respects, I think he felt that, and he was right, that he got more love. He didn't get as much love from the fans as those two did. So what happens when you ship them out? What happens when you ship Obi out? It was Obi versus Julius, RJ versus Julius, IQ versus Julius. All of them are gone. What do you have? Two members of the original crew that we all known and loved because we drafted them. One, I mean, that whole clique, we got one left, Mitchell Robinson, and then this Julius. So at the end of the day, I'm curious about the conversation that Julius had with his family once all of that went down. Like, damn, it's me and Mitch that's left. And all the people at some point in time that I had challenges with, although we grew to love each other with family, I'm the one that's remaining. There's no bigger example of a commitment paid to you than for that to be the case, that the team values what it is that you bring and feels as if with you and Brunson, if we put the right pieces around y'all, you guys can take us far. So I think that's what has been exhibited in these moves that were made. And I think that also just provides Julius with unlimited confidence. But you know that those players, just like the fans, were impacted emotionally. You know the players were as well. Not only the players who were sent out, but those players who were left behind to see their brothers sent off. And interestingly enough, I said on my last video, sometimes, maybe their play was impacted because they were made aware of the move that was coming down the pike. The way you hear Julius and IQ, talk about how they heard about the trade, they were surprised. They were just as surprised as all of us. RJ, tried to keep it straight. He said, Toronto is my favorite team. And, when I found out, I'm like, wait, what? And the same thing with IQ. IQ said he took a power nap and he woke up and then he found out that, he was traded. And because they were in the brightest stage in the world and were birthed in the most crazy market, they did what they always did. They were respectful, they were professional, and they were about their business. And that piece kind of broke my heart, because it's like, part of it tells, part of what I said, when Obi got traded to Indiana and it was the outpouring of love for Obi Toppin, Obi really wasn't a social media dude. So I do got to kind of give him some grace. It was IQ. Obi was really never that one that was on social media. Obi got a family already. He got a kid, he got a wife. He never really did the social media thing. But with the level of love that was poured on him from the moment he got drafted to the very end, there was no message that you could send to the Knicks fans. None. And I said it this time as well. I'm like, with IQ on the way out and RJ on the way out, there is no message that you could at least post if you've historically posted. But I think, once again, that's me being selfish and self-centered. Because these young men had life-changing experiences. They've just been uprooted. They got to worry about how their family's going to be moved, where they're going to be staying, what? Are they going to be playing tomorrow? They ain't got no time to think about getting on social media. That's the last thing that they should be concerned about. So I give myself the Nah Son Nah You Wildin' moment of the day. With that being said, maybe in the summertime they'll give a shout out or stay connected with the fan base or find a way to kind of lean into that once a Knick, always type of Knick type of feel. But right now they're the ops, and they see us as the ops. So Julius, with all that being said, at the end of the game, which was an early afternoon game for the New York Knicks, at the end of the day, that man sat home in his living room and he showed himself watching IQ and RJ start for the Toronto Raptors. And he said, "Let's go, young bros." And I think that just speaks to his level of leadership. The fact that you can't spend that much time and go through the ups and downs as you have and not form that brotherhood with those players and still not root for their success. It was classy. It was outstanding and it was classy. And to that, I give Julius a grade of, an A. An A- I give him for the game, but just being an A-class person. All right? So round of applause for Julius Randle. He gets an A for this game, and he is the bacon of the bacon, egg, and cheese here in Knicks Deli. Now, who is the egg of the game? All right? The egg of the game goes to our guy, Isaiah Hartenstein. Let's go. Isaiah Hartenstein. That boy was showing out last night, boy. We must protect this house. We must protect this house. Yo, Hartenstein was not having it. Super excited to iHeart, man. Shout out to the Terror Squad. The Terror Squad is what I call our bench unit. And he was a fixture from the moment that he arrived. Him and Mitch together met. They was just like, listen, no easy lanes in New York. Not in the Garden, not on our watch. You're going to come here, you're going to get challenged at the rim. Sheer master flex on the microphone. Yo, iHeart wasn't having it. iHeart was not having it. Huge game with a huge matchup. Karl Anthony Towns coming to town, planning on trying to add something to his name in the legacy of Madison Square Garden. Rudy Gobert, leading the number one defense in the NBA, planning on entering Madison Square Garden to make highlights that's going to show up on ESPN. That ain't happening no more. Before we let that happen, we circle the block.
We circle on the block.
And we spin the block. And you'll be lucky if we don't take you out. Out here in New York, we got 100 guns, 100 clips. IQ was on something else last night, man, and I was here for it. Right off the back. I'm giving iHeart an A. I said IQ. Right off the back, I'm giving iHeart an A. That man gets an A. Once again, huge matchup. He had 39 minutes, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, 3 block shots. Come on now. He was the enforcer that we needed. The moment Mitch went down, he said they had a conversation. He said, I got you, bro. I got you. And he has done just that as a starter in that lineup, making sure that he did his part to continue being the enforcer that we need in the middle. Anytime a team plays the New York Knicks, there is no fear there. And increasingly, you see all confidence. Confidence playing with the starters, knowing where they are, where they like the ball. Okay? Knowing what his role is, but also knowing and being confident in what his skill set is. There is no fear with Isaiah Hartenstein, but passion with Isaiah Hartenstein, I'm sorry. And there's no easy nights whatsoever. And as long as we continue to get that from Isaiah, the New York Knicks will be in the contender conversation. So join me in giving a round of applause for Isaiah Hartenstein, the egg of the bacon, egg, and cheese today here in Knicks Deli. All right, and lastly, who makes up the bacon, egg, and cheese as a whole thing that helped us get over the top? And that's going to go to our new guy, OG Anunoby. A round of applause for OG. I had to make that man the cheese because all I've been doing is cheesing ever since I watched the game last night. I know that was corny, but I don't care. 35 minutes. Tom Thibodeau ain't playing. He ain't playing. He sees that the skill set that OG Anunoby brings, you could throw him out to 35 minutes. He's going to figure it out. He has an instinct and a feel for the game that is like no other. I ain't gonna lie to you. I saw him on the court, and I'm looking at not only his physical frame, but his ability to be disruptive on defense. And all I could think about was that Queens product, Ron Artest. OG Anunoby came up and he showed out. 35 minutes, 3 for 6 from three-point range, 6 rebounds, 17 points. Guarding multiple positions. Someone said that Tibbs found his new Luol Deng, and I agree. If you remember the Chicago Bulls, when they had the formation of that team that was battling Cleveland and LeBron James year in and year out, Luol Deng was at the center of it. Long arms. The ability to guard positions 1 through 5. Luol Deng. Was spot on comparison. Spot on. Didn't score as much as all the other players. When you have a player such as Derrick Rose on the team or Jalen Brunson on the team, you ain't going to get that many touches. I need you to fill in the blanks. I need you to be there. I need you to play championship level basketball. And that's what OG Anunoby has shown the potential to do. He's fearless. He has defensive versatility. You have to commit to him, which opens up the lanes. And the man runs the floor. New York Knicks fans, you need to be excited about this. Because as you see them on the floor, and I'm also, when you see them walk side by side off of the floor, OG Anunoby, that move, it's the type of move that you see on the documentary after the teams start doing historic things and start winning games at a high level, winning conferences and in divisions and in the finals. When they talk about that path or that journey to great things, a move like OG Anunoby is one of the moves that they talk about. So OG, you really have come through. I'm going to give you an A- for this game. And what I'm going to talk about a little bit later on as well is we always want to bring in players who want New York. And some people will say, well, who's to say, Obi won in New York? Well, he won it out of Toronto. And that makes you wonder. We were in an uproar over the summertime when word got out that he switched from his former representation over to CAA. So you telling me he didn't want New York as a landing spot? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. So shout out to OG Anunoby, the cheese of the bacon, egg, and cheese today. Let's give him a round of applause for a bigger role, championship piece, and a switch over to CAA. Now, next up on the menu is the dollar slice. Here in Knicks Deli, the dollar slice represents stability. It's the best pizza in the world and it always has been. But what can contribute to that longevity and the stability that helps us win? So the dollar slice is going to go to Jalen Brunson. Shout out, round of applause for our guy, Jalen Brunson. Now you may say, shit, how are you giving Jalen Brunson again? He was 5 for 25 or 5 for 23 in the game. How you giving that man a dollar slice? Listen, he also had 14 assists. Round of applause for that man. But although he's getting a dollar slice, I'm giving him a C+ for this game. And let me tell you why. 5 for 25, absolutely. Oof. What are we doing? What are we doing? 5 for 25. But something that you can't put a value on is that even though he was missing at that rate, he was still unaffected, And in some cases, you may say, well, is that a good thing? You miss and you got to learn how to stop shooting. Not necessarily the case when our best player is missing that much. Historically, go back. Somebody at some point in time will have a game like that. But the key is, are you finding other ways to contribute to your team and add value to your team? And that's where the 14 assists come in. You have all those naysayers who always talk about he don't pass the ball enough. This point guard, he's not really, as a point guard, we need more assists. We got a point guard. You can have a point guard who has so many assists and not be at the level of Jalen Brunson. Hell, Raymond Felton was getting up the assists. Chris Duhon is the team leader. I think he had 22 assists in the game. Would you take Duhon over Jalen Brunson? Sometimes Knicks fans, we don't just accept the fact that we have something good. We always got to find something critical and wrong with that player. And I continue to say, I know the type of parents y'all are. I know the type of parents y'all are.
Hey, yo.
Because you can't, it has to be perfect. It has to be perfect. And you act like we have a history of perfection here in the organization. Nah, we don't, bruh. We don't. So Jalen Brunson found another way to continue to be on the floor, to give his team confidence that no matter where he was on the floor, they got to guard him. So his contribution is opening up the lane. But also, now these players are starting to, do backdoor cuts, keep the ball flowing, keep the ball moving, keep moving, I'm going to find you. And I'm going to still be able to read the floor enough to know that no matter how off my jump shot is, when should I take a shot to keep the defense honest? Come on, man. That's our point guard. That's our point guard. He heated up a little bit in the second quarter, but also he just started dropping dimes. That adjustment and that game generalship is exactly what we need. Always. And what I absolutely love about it is, and I'm going to end on this note when it comes to Jalen Brunson as the dollar slice, this trade that was made, this trade wasn't made for Julius. This trade was made with Jalen Brunson in mind. With the ability that he has displayed since being in the largest, most brightest stage in the NBA, the New York Knicks are making moves to surround him with players. Now, I know I've said in the past, surround him with players. And everybody's like, oh, so are you saying he's a 1A? Yo, y'all are bugging. Sometimes y'all are just exhausting when it comes to points of frustration. I could be saying that or not. What I'm telling you is, once the Detroit Pistons started making moves and getting players in, once they got a Richard Hamilton in, did they call him a superstar? Did they say, is he enough? No, you got to get the right set of pieces that fit perfectly together that can overcome a team such as a Shaq and a Kobe, a juggernaut, historic juggernaut such as a Shaq and a Kobe combination. So if we can't get the superstar, then we got to get something else that can compete against those teams. And on any given night, you can get a win. But in the meantime, his leadership continues to be that northern star for everybody else on the team to follow. And that's why you align alongside him with players that complement his skill set, that give us the best opportunity to win. So round of applause for our dollar slice, Jalen Brunson. Round of applause for that man. All right, we're going along. Who is the chopped cheese of the game? Now, just a reminder, if you're unfamiliar with the chopped cheese is relatively new to that New York menu, but that thing be bussin'. So who is the chopped cheese of the game? Chopped cheese of the game is our guy, Donte Divencenzo. I got a question. Why y'all throwing shade at Donte? Why y'all shading Donte? I ain't shading Donte. Sheer, what are you talking about? Let me tell you what I'm talking about. I don't see no posts on Twitter. I don't see no posts. I don't see no selections for the All-Star team for Donte Divencenzo. The man dropped 38 points. The man dropped 38 points the other night. And although last night, he only had 15, but the man played 25 minutes, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal. There's a lot of value that he brings. He was able to step in when Grimes went down. And when needed, the man dropped 38 points, pure from the three-point line. Pure. pure. Shooting and scoring is critical. He brings that. Cohesion with Brunson is underrated. He brings that. Versatility is underrated. He brings that. But the man is a dog. It's starting to get weird for too long. Donte Grimes, who's going to be the starting point guard in this unit? You know, Tom Thibodeau is going to continue to kind of tinker around with it. More than likely, I think, in order to not shake up any further the confidence for Grimes, he probably is going to roll with this setup for the rest of the year. And barring any injuries, he'll look at the playoffs, and then who steps up will determine in the future how we move forward. But I think right now he's going to stick to this unless trades are made. But Donte Divencenzo, we got to do a better job of showing this man more love, welcoming him. When will he have his official welcome into the arms of Knicks fans? I don't know. We will see. But in the meantime, he's been repping well. That's why I give that man a B+ for this game. So do me a favor right now. Round of applause for Donte Divencenzo. Now, you can't have the dollar slice. You can't have the bacon, egg, and cheese. You can't have the chopped cheese if you ain't got nothing to wash that thing down with. We call that the quarter water. So who's the quarter water of the game? Obviously, I just talked him up. Quentin Grimes. Round of applause for your quarter water. Look, they say success is when opportunity meets preparation. That's Quentin Grimes. And that is the opportunity that he has right now. It's funny how things work, because prior to this trade, there was a log jam at the guard position. RJ had the ability to play guard. IQ had the ability to play guard. Grimes, Divincenzo, Hart, everybody had the ability to play guard. But he spoke up. And he showed up. Quentin Grimes spoke up. He was just like, I need rhythm. I only get rhythm with touches. You know, I can't be thinking about being pulled from the game. Leave me out there. Let me work through some of my kinks. Let me get my rhythm and my shot, my ability to feel the flow of the game. And you could tell his frustration. His frustration was there. And then this happens. Now, all of a sudden, he is being met with opportunity and a call on him to be prepared, his preparation. We will see if he is ready for this moment. There's no glut at the guard position anymore. He has an opportunity, even coming off of the bench, such as he had last night where he played 18 minutes. And he was able to drop 3 rebounds, 1 assist, and 10 points. You can just see in terms of the flow of the game, the man has more confidence. That was palpable last night. Okay? And also, once again, he is a wing defender. And now he has help. Now he has help. With the acquisition of an OG Anunoby, now Grimes isn't called on to defend the best player on the opposite team, whether he's starting or off the bench. OG could do that. So now he can focus on, if he's off the bench, guarding the other team's bench's best player with starter level defensive ability. And if their offensive players coming off of the bench is whack, then he can light their ass up on the offense. So yeah, it's a Grimes scene for the NBA right now. And I think Quentin Grimes is going to be responsible for that Grimes scene. So let's stay tuned and pay attention and watch. But for the game, the grade that I give to Quentin Grimes is also a B. I'm going to give him a B. He has an opportunity to show up. Let's see if he does. So round of applause for your quarter water of the game, Quentin Grimes. So now as I begin to wrap this thing up, I thank you. I want to ask that you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay with me as we're going to be dropping more videos a little bit more consistently, okay? But this is a new part of the menu before I get to my parting thoughts. It'll lead into the parting thoughts. And this part of the menu is the glizzy of the game.
Hey, yo.
Hey, yo. Who are we going to get a glizzy of the game to? And if you're not familiar with what I described it at the beginning of this video, the glizzy of the game is that person who may be talking a little bit too much ish, who may be saying something out of the side of their face. And sometimes you just look at them and be like, I wish you would shut the up, okay? And only one way to really accurately shut somebody up is by giving them the glizzy.
Hey, yo.
Of the game, okay? And the glizzy of the game goes to two people. We got Stephen A. Smith, and we got y'all Knicks Twitter fans who talk about, oh, it's okay to trade RJ, but IQ, we ain't doing that. So let me start with y'all, Knicks fans from Knicks Twitter and the Knicks, community. Let's talk about that. They're both ours, RJ and IQ, okay? You know these players pay attention to social media. Their families pay attention to social media. How do you think they're going to feel? You be like, yo, yeah, we was ready to get rid of RJ, but IQ, I just didn't want to part ways with IQ. This is why I always say I root for the name on the front of the jersey, not on the back. We love those players for different reasons. You know, when RJ got to us, listen, out of the top three, RJ was, the consolation behind John Morant, behind Zion. We were rooting for him because we knew he was of good character. He was a hard worker. He came out of Duke. He was just like, yo, I'm a Knick. All of that, for all of those reasons, he built up his RJ Hive. And I remember even when I suggested slightly with the video over the summertime, when I was just like, listen, maybe it's time because it's been 5 years and we know what we're going to get from RJ is inconsistency. Maybe we should try to give Grimes some of his minutes and see how Grimes performs with those minutes and possibly consider, either moving RJ to the bench or just giving him less minutes. And so many people came out as part of the RJ Hive. I was just like, yo, y'all wildin'. Because you know me, friend of foe, I want to smoke. And keep targeting me and my channel.
We circling the block. We spinning the block.
We circle the block and we spin the block. I got patrons at Knicks Deli. And we roll deep. We roll deep. But y'all tried to come for me when I said that. And then on this way out, you know what I mean? Y'all really y'all are not even taking general shots. Y'all straight up was just like, yeah, RJ, we ready. We can move on from him. If it was RJ, we would. But man, IQ, look, y'all did the same thing with Obi and Julius. It's always what you don't realize you're doing is you make them not want to engage with the fans. You make them think it's us against the world, including Knicks fans. Knicks fans, if you let New York Knicks fans tell it, they're going to divide us. They'll have one person believing we should start over the other. We need to block out even the fans. Because although they have good intentions and they feel so passionately about their team, if we listen to them, we're going to be in the room looking at each other like, yo, I should be getting more minutes than you. You know what? I should be getting more minutes than you. You can't even stay healthy. What you mean I can't stay healthy? You will have them in fighting. So y'all get half of this glizzy. Y'all get half of this glizzy.
Hey, yo.
All right, the other half going to Stephen A. Smith. F out of here. Do I gotta say it? Y'all already know what it is. It's embarrassing at this point. It's embarrassing at this point. Kudos to the man who's built an empire, built his brand up to the point where he is highly demanded and high demand. Nobody speaks against his contribution to the sports world, him as a voice, his influence, all of that. Nobody's talking about that. Stephen A., you the man. You from Queens. You us. You the man. That's why the level of disappointment is so high. Because you're on record having really been a true NBA fan, but you've spoken and been able to effectively communicate to your network and to your peers how you're going to leverage that fandom to engage the fan base and maybe be overly animated or salacious in what it is you say. And that's, although it's the vitriol that's we're going to send towards you, it's still no publicity is bad publicity. No response is a negative response as long as they're responding, because that feeds the algorithm and increases engagement. We know what you're doing when you trolling your own fellow fan base. You trolling us. But for you to say this whole Donovan Mitchell stuff, look, we understand. We know what it is. The only thing that we would prefer come from your mouth as the lead of sports media communication is to put some respect on our motherfucking name. And you could do that by saying, listen, this move by OG Anunoby, you know what? It's another impressive step by the front office. Leon Rose and them boys are moving strategically. They're moving with intentionality and some purpose. One of the outstanding moves was plucking the cap guard to help put together those teams in Cleveland for them to win a championship. And when they did that, moves like this have consideration towards the cap in the future, continues to give them cap flexibility, allows them to pick quality players from other teams and add to their team as part of their strategy to not only build a championship contending team, but long-term sustainable winning, but also allows them to place the players that they're sending off, their homegrown players. The garden is the garden for a reason. They've planted seeds. They've watched these seeds turn into buds and help develop and grow them into full-bloomed flowers. Valuable enough for other teams to see their value and to be able to say, you know what, I want them. So now you can get a player the quality of an OG Anunoby who's going to be a critical piece in your championship contending run. You were able to steward that through your leadership and your stability. And at the same time, you are improving the reputation of the organization by showing proof that you're able to be competent and make these sound type of moves, that you don't leap or dance to the beat of anybody else's drum. You don't dance when you don't hear music. You don't scratch where you don't itch. The New York Knicks are now becoming a symbol of competent, progressive, visionary leadership in Madison Square Garden. And they're taking care of their players. And you know what happens when you take care of your players? You grow them, you develop them, you challenge them, you give them discipline, you give them all the principles of being part of a winning team. And when you can't necessarily find a fit for them in your organization, you send them to an organization that has a fit for what it is that they've expressed to you they're looking for. And that's Knicks culture. That's Knicks culture. Something that has been missing for so long. That's Knicks culture. You've been able to trade off Obi Toppin and give him an opportunity, even though it was the ops, even though it was a competitor. You traded him to the Indiana Pacers, where he had an opportunity immediately to start and to show what it is that he was capable of doing, in hopes that he could position himself to get the contract that he felt he deserved and the opportunity he felt he deserved that he didn't get in New York. You afforded him that opportunity. That was a gift. You traded off Cam Reddish, and you traded him for Josh Hart, but to the Portland Trailblazers, where he had an opportunity to play side by side with Damian Lillard and get an opportunity for more minutes and playing time and show what he can do, which he was able to parlay into a contract with the Los Angeles Lakers and an opportunity to start. You didn't have to do that. You found a team where he would get that opportunity. You traded off IQ and RJ, sending RJ home. RJ said himself, he was just like, I was surprised to hear that I was traded. But when I heard that I had an opportunity to go home and play for my favorite team growing up and get an opportunity in that way to really kind of build on who it is I can be, I was appreciative. I was thankful for it. And an IQ, a person who has come out and was vocal himself and saying, listen, I know my value. I know my worth. I know what I'm capable of. I'm capable of being a starting point guard in this league. And I'm also capable of being paid like one. And the New York Knicks sent him along with RJ, putting them together. So they both have an opportunity with this transition and this change to be able to lean on each other, even though it's in a different market, but both be able to start side by side. That's an organization that takes care of its players. It's a move like that that makes it clear that 20 years from now, when we are recognizing these players who are given front row seats an opportunity to sit courtside and raise and look at the banners that are being raised, and we talk about appreciating the fact that they contributed to the beginning of us getting back on the right track and becoming a championship organization. Once a Knick, always a Knick. Knicks culture. That's what's being built by Leon Rose in the front office. Stephen A. Smith, you got the material. I just gave it to you. Talk about that. So I want to thank y'all all for visiting me here at Knicks Deli. We are coming up on 51 minutes. Rock with me. I'm your host, Shia. I'm the owner. I'm the proprietor of Knicks Deli. And keep this in mind.
Knicks Deli Edition.
When you hear at Knicks Deli, everybody eats. Enjoy the rest of your week. Peace.